Amazon
Yep.
going to transfer all of their US subscribers from an ad-free service to an ad-supported. Now, you do have the option to pay to figure out how to do it and pay $3 more a month to keep with the ad-free. But TV Rev's assumption is that about 70% of the people will not bother.
Hi, everybody. For today's episode of Retention Zone, I'm happy to have with me Alan Wolk, a media analyst for TV Rev with a long experience, anything streaming and before that. Hi, Alan.
Hey, how you doing, Carlo?
So very quickly, you were maybe famous for having invented the word fast, the terminology.
Yeah.
Some years ago. You've been in the media industry for a long time. I want to focus a bit about monetizing streaming media.
Okay.
SVOD, AVOD, whatever, TVOD. Tell me, how do you see 2024, what you see happening in terms of how people monetize streaming media? What's your take?
Well, I think advertising is becoming a bigger and bigger piece of it. So one of the things that we're going to see happening, is about 2 weeks from today, Amazon going to transfer all of their US subscribers from an ad-free service to an ad-supported. Now, you do have the option to pay to figure out how to do it and pay $3 more a month to keep with the ad-free. But TV Rev's assumption is that about 70% of the people will not bother. They just don't watch enough Amazon. They can't figure it out, inertia, whatever. Now, if you do the numbers, it's really hard to know how many subscribers Amazon actually has because A, they don't tell anybody, and B, you don't know how many people subscribe to Amazon because they have free 2-day shipping, or how many subscribe to the video, and how many a little bit of both. But at a very conservative estimate, figure they've got about 170 million US Prime subscribers. That's free delivery and everything. Of those, if you even say that half watched the video at some point, so that's about 85 million. And if 70% of those take it, it's something like 50 to 60 million people suddenly are like watching ad-supported streaming. So that's going to be huge. And by contrast, Netflix, I think, has 15 or 20 million ad-supported subscribers worldwide. So it's really going to boost the number of SVOD, and especially against original content. So that's one of the things that if I'm Pepsi and I look at the streaming market now, I said, well, Hulu is really the only one who can give me originals. Everything else is reruns. I don't want to run my $20 million commercial against a bunch of reruns all the time. So now it kind of gives them a reason to shift money to streaming. So I think we're going to start seeing some of that. The other piece we're going to see is that right now, the price differential between ad-free and ad-supported on most of these services is not very big. So, and you think of the user journey, right? Why am I subscribing to Netflix? Oh, there's a show I really want to see. So I go, and it's like, oh, so for $5 more, you can watch that show you really want to see without ads. I'm in. And so what they're going to do is they're going to make the price differential bigger and bigger, so that it becomes a real decision. And we're starting to see that already, that Verizon, which is the second biggest mobile provider in the US, just did a deal with Max, and you can get ad-free, ad-supported Max and ad-supported Netflix for, I think, $10 a month. But the deal doesn't extend to the ad-free versions if you're on your own for that. We're seeing a lot more of that. So I think that's going to be a big path to monetization is advertising. So they can only raise the subscription dollars so much. And, you have the fast too, and the media companies say, like, Paramount owns Pluto. They can they can sell ads against both of those. And if Warner buys them as is suspected, suddenly you've got that whole ecosystem. So I think we're going to see a lot of that, where there's sort of three tiers. There's the completely free tier. There's the ad-supported subscription tier, and then the ad-free subscription tier. And that's really going to be sort of how monetization works. And there's going to be a flywheel between them. So if I have a show that's doing really well, an original, I might put the first season of it on my free tier to get people to, into it. And then they'll go, oh, I need to subscribe to watch the rest of the season. So we're going to start seeing some of that too.
So, which means there will be a lot more sophistication in the business model, in the monetization model. And I'm also thinking I come from a vendor software background. So I'm thinking there is a lot more than you need to provide in terms of data that you collect, how you put together the data. For sure, AI will help. But if retention, which is the name of this podcast, one of the things I focus on, was kind of complex in a pure SVOD. Now, if you think you have an entry level that it is maybe free, then you have the ad supported, then you have the ad free with subscription. Yeah. You want to retain people throughout the fun. If it's a fun, no? You want to retain people in different ways. So the strategies will be much more sophisticated. And if you can put the things together, because if you are in ad supported, someone staying makes you advertising money. So you want to retain the user. What do you think? How do you think this will be solved? They will need more people like you and me to untangle it, and maybe some technology company to provide the tools. I don't know.
Well, there's one thing that's happening that's going to change a lot of this, and that sort of flown under the radar. It was one of the things we pointed out in our predictions this year. Is we're shifting the world is shifting from IPv4 Internet Protocol to IPv6, and just super quickly, the way IPv4 works, that you're able to geolocate someone based on their IP address, right? So with the move to IPv6, that's not going to happen anymore, right? And every device in the house won't have the same IP address. They'll have different addresses. So one of the things that the streaming service is going to have to do, especially the FAST, or start collecting email addresses. They're going to have to say, okay, sign up for an account and we're going to give you something for it. Not just, you can save it. You get extra episodes, you get a free t-shirt, whatever it is. Like, they're going to have to start doing that as a way of tracking viewers and keep, and understanding who they are. And I think that's going to be another huge thing.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of churn, so, churn is like the scary monster of these last few years or months for sure. I mean, company going down or aggregating, bundling, mostly because of churn. What is the reason behind churn, even if I understand there are many? What's your view on that?
I think the big reason is, is you can, right? People are like, oh, I'm not watching this anymore. I can just, there's no penalty to coming out of it. And and I think a lot of people have got in the habit of like, okay, I'm going to watch this show on this service. And when it's over, I'm going to unsubscribe because there's nothing else that I want to watch. So one key thing is to kind of, is to use, whether it's AI and other tricks, to sort of figure out, okay, how do I show this person things that keep them on this service? I think one thing that's going to help, and I've been sort of pushing this for a while, is we're going to start seeing linear channels on the SVOD services as well. They'll have huge libraries and people never see them. And as a result, they're sort of unaware unless the algorithm shows it. So I think we're going to start seeing them taking their libraries and making linear channels, because they've seen that they're popular on the FAST. So why not do it for them? Another thing, which I think is really interesting, is something that Max seems to be doing, and Paramount to a degree, is they're sort of creating like a mini MVPD. So you go into Max and you've got these buckets. It's like HBO and Food Network, HGTV. They've got sports. Through Bleacher Report. They've got news through CNN. And suddenly it's like, wow, this is sort of like, my old cable bundle. But more than that, it's an easy shorthand for me to know, is there something in here I'm going to want to watch? Whereas with Netflix, when they have categories or other services, when it's like, comedy, romance, it's like, well, I don't really know what that means or what's in there, but I know what Food Network means. So I think we're going to start seeing more of that with the SVOD services. Are sort of creating sub-brands, almost the equivalent of channels within them. And that's going to help too. And then if some of those also have a linear network attached to them, even better. So I think that's going to be another way to kind of keep people in the loop, keep people from churning.
So basically what you're saying is the channel, apart from being a channel or a linear channel, had a brand. So what you're saying is category don't have a brand.
Right.
Netflix. That's quite powerful. So saying if people have to find way to put a brand around their content so that it's easier to associate instead of thinking, okay, fast humor or whatever the crazy names some people invent on the creative side of these companies.
Yeah,
I think that's a good point. And in terms of what do you think, if you have best practices for retaining user, is there anything you can that is working in general, or you have to go specific every time? What do you think?
No, I think probably the best practice is always show, like, think about what they're going to watch next. Like, always show them stuff that they might want to watch next, and a lot of it is that art part of it is like, just have shows that people want to watch, because that's why they churn when it's like, okay, you've got nothing for me. And understand that there's sort of different categories. That somebody who's watching, Succession is not going to want to watch, probably not going to watch a reality show. And you see that on Netflix. It's interesting with Netflix, their two most popular series are very mainstream stuff, right? It's that that show, Georgia and something. It's a Gilmore Girls kind of show.
Yeah.
And Reacher, they're sort of very basic procedurals and whatnot. It's not those sort of high-end shows. And that's the other piece, is understanding that, like, yes, you win Emmys from having certain types of shows, but you get mass audiences from the more mainstream stuff.
And apart from what you said, which is super interesting in terms of IPv6, etc., so how you recognize user, etc., do you think we have the right data at the moment in terms of what we can use to do this decision to drive users, or we have the data but we don't know what to do with it? Is there a because I don't think we are doing well. Even Netflix doesn't do great. So
yeah, I think I agree. I think there needs to be much more done with data. I think people they need to sort of recognize that privacy is an issue, that figure out how to do that, but also figure out how to get people to willingly share stuff. Like, TV isn't that. If you sort of make it acceptable to people and are upfront with them, what I watch on TV isn't all that private, but I do kind of, I don't like when you don't tell me what you're doing. So I think we need to, there's plenty of plays that are in market now, companies like Consent that are like with a Q that are doing, this kind of thing. And I think we're going to start seeing more of that, and people sort of understanding how to use data and how to sort of move people around and give them something for that exchange.
Yeah, I think it should, exactly. It's a value exchange.
Yeah.
So the value exchange should be fair. Otherwise, it's my privacy. Why should I give it to you? Va bene, fascinating, Alan. Thank you for taking the time today. And I hope to see you soon at some streaming media events.
Yes.
Which will happen in 2024. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Carlo. Take care. Grazie.